it going, guys? How's everyone doing today? So this video is going to be really niche, and probably nobody's going to watch it. But today I want to talk about 3D, and this is one that I've been wanting to do for quite a while. I have a ton of 3D movies, and I'm a huge fan of the gimmick. Let's call it a gimmick. I think 3D, if done properly, can be really beneficial to a movie. Honestly, there's some movies that once you see them in 3D, it's basically impossible to watch them in 2D again. And I have quite a few examples of that. However, there are some 3D movies where it's like, what the fuck was the point? So basically what I want to do in this video is just go through my entire 3D collection that I've got, just the 3D movies, and then point out some of the ones that are either not worth shit or the ones that are actually like really beneficial. And I know, like I said, this is not gonna be a subject for most people, because you really can't buy 3D TVs anymore. I mean, you can, but they're hard to find. And most North American distributors don't release 3D Blu-rays anymore in North America. But I know some of you guys aren't in North America. Some of you might be Europe, Japan. Japan still gets 3D Blu-rays. Europe still gets 3D Blu-rays. It's just North America where they tend to not make them anymore. So a lot of these are imports, because that's the only way to fucking see half of them. And I do have a 3D projector. I don't have a 3D TV. I'll show it near the end of the video. I'll show exactly what I have and what model I've got, just in case this is something that you're interested in getting into, because quite frankly, the viewer itself, probably cheaper than a TV. Like the projector that I have, I didn't pay that much for, but we'll get into that later. So let's just start off with the Blu-rays, because there's quite a few here to go through. Not nearly as much as the actual Blu-ray wall that I've got behind me, because that video that I did like a year ago or whatever ended up being like 3 hours long. This isn't going to be that long, so let's just get on with it. So first up we have iRobot. I like iRobot as a movie, it's pretty decent, but this 3D Blu-ray is a fucking waste of time. I don't know what happened here. Like, it's so crap that sometimes you can't even tell it's 3D. Like, it almost feels like the 3D turned off and it switched back to 2D. There's like nothing. There's very brief moments in this where the 3D actually pops. Very brief. But it's really like, it's a waste. It's really a waste. And I feel like this is probably a very similar to like Gamer and what was that other one? Jumper. Because I know those got re-released in 3D as well, but those weren't theatrical releases, those were Blu-ray. Same with this one. This one wasn't theatrical, this was just a Blu-ray release. And 20th Century Fox really pissed this one out. So just don't waste your time with iRobot, just get the 2D version if it's a movie you like. Next up, we got Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, the limited 3D edition. Did anybody miss when like 3D Blu-rays would come out and they got like these cool ass lenticular covers? It just made them feel prestigious. Like it felt like this was the version to get. On Stranger Tides, not a very good movie. The 3D's decent in this, but there's not like a whole lot to it. It's on Stranger Tides was kind of one of those things where it felt like lesser of a movie than like On World's End or At World's End, because like At World's End had like that insane finale where they're like going around in like the whirlpool, the ships are like fucking shooting at it. It felt epic. This feels like shittier than like Black Pearl. But yeah, the 3D's not terrible. It's Disney movies tend to have really good 3D in general, but this was just like, there's not a lot that comes to mind where you're like, damn. Like there's like a scene where Captain Barbossa like puts his, or not Barbossa, Blackbeard, where Ian McShane as Blackbeard like points his sword towards the camera and it's like in your face, but that was like the only real standout moment that this has that I can remember. Next up, we got Ghosts of the Abyss, which was basically James Cameron's practice run for Avatar. Film, I don't actually remember if this came out before or after Avatar. But this was basically like him, I feel like this was him testing the 3D format and getting used to cameras. Because basically what this is they basically, it's a 3D, they dived the Titanic. Like the wreckage of the Titanic, and it's shot in 3D. And it looks amazing. This is like a really good one. Because underwater sequences in general tend to look really good in 3D. And this entire thing is shot underwater. And this is real, right? Like it's not like CGI, it's like an actual documentary. This, probably one of the better 3D movies. I wouldn't say in the top tier, but definitely worth checking out in 3D. I think the 3D benefits this one quite a bit. Next up, this is an import. We got Aquaman 3D. This is an import from the UK. Thus, this one's censored, which I mean, it's fine. There's just like a couple of scenes where there's like blood that's been removed. Whatever. It doesn't detract from the movie at all. This is another one that looks really good because, again, Aquaman, it's underwater. So anything underwater looks breathtaking in 3D. And this movie is like 80% underwater stuff. So this one looks really good. Kind of hard to watch with Amber Heard in it, but, you know, it's a good 3D movie. And I highly doubt that what the second one, I can't remember what the second one's called, but I really doubt the second one's even going to get a 3D Blu-ray release. So if you can get Aquaman in 3D, I'd recommend it. I think it's the way to watch this. All right, so next up this is a group of movies, and all of these are amazing, and I'm really glad that I have them. Basically, we got the first Avengers, which again, that lenticular cover with like that fancy, it just feels prestigious. Like this shit feels like gold. This feels important. Great 3D, amazing 3D. All the Marvel movies have great 3D, but yeah, Avengers is, man, it's such simpler times, right? But yeah, this one I would highly recommend if you can watch these. And then I've got the rest of the series, right? I got Age of Ultron. This is an import. Infinity War in 3D is like Avatar level. As far as I'm concerned, the 3D in this is fucking amazing. And by extension, Endgame is also amazing. But the thing with Endgame is that Endgame is less action-packed than Infinity War. So if you can only choose one, I'd recommend getting them all. But if you can only choose one 3D Blu-ray out of either Endgame or Infinity War, it's definitely Infinity War that you want to get in 3D. Because Endgame is a great movie, but the ending sequence is like really where the 3D really shows, as opposed to Infinity War where the entire movie looks amazing. Next up, we got the King, the GOAT. This is, this is the version that came with 3D TVs. Like, this movie looks so good in 3D. Like, this is still the gold standard. But this shit looks so good that, like, this is the one that was included. Like, it says right there, Panasonic exclusive. I don't know if you can even see that. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up. It says Panasonic exclusive because this is the one that was actually given to you when you bought a 3D TV. Like, if you bought a Panasonic 3D TV, you got this included with it because this was the way to show off that 3D, or to show off the TV. This is amazing. It's the GOAT. I cannot wait to see how good Avatar 2, the way of water looks, because it's underwater. Next up, we got Blade Runner 2049, one of my favorite movies of all time. 3D is good. It's not like eye-popping, like it doesn't come out of the screen. This is more of a immersion, like depth. Kind of immerses you in like the cyberpunk world. It's not like your typical 3D experience, which I think is kind of matches Blade Runner, because like when the trailers for this came out, they were selling it as an action movie, and then you go to see this, and it's really not an action movie at all. It's very slow, methodical, and it's very slow paced. And the 3D in this, it's not eye-popping, it's depth. It's meant to immerse you. I think it's really, really good in 3D. This one, I kind of miss when they did this. This is Dread. And this is like one of those releases where they included the 3D and the original Blu-ray on the same disc, so it's just one disc. Dread looks amazing in 3D during these slow motion sequences. If you've seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. There's like scenes where people take like this drug and it causes everything to go into like slow motion. Those sequences in 3D look fucking amazing. Amazing. The rest of the movie looks fine in 3D, but where it really shines is those drug-induced slow-mo sequences. Those are fucking mint. It's just a good movie too in general. Next up, we got Hugo, the limited 3D edition. This movie has some of the best 3D I've ever seen. This one is with like Avatar levels of quality. And I got to admit, like when Hugo first came out, like when it was first released, I managed a video store when it came out, and I didn't want to see this at all. I was like, this is a fucking stupid kids movie, whatever. But then I got this for free, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch it. If I'm gonna watch this, it's gonna be in 3D. Checked it out. I liked it a lot. Especially if you're like a fan of filmmaking. Because this is a movie about filmmaking. I didn't know that. I thought it was like a fucking Christmas movie because it feels like a Christmas movie. It's not. It's literally a movie about film and like the love of filmmaking. So it's great. I loved it way more than I ever thought I was going to. But the 3D in this is like 10 out of 10. In particular, there's like one scene where like Sacha Baron Cohen, if you've seen the movie, there's like a scene where Sacha Baron Cohen's face is like on screen and he's kind of like leaning forward. Like he's like trying to intimidate Hugo, and he's like leaning forward. And in the 3D, I've never seen another movie do this. It literally Sacha Baron Cohen's face literally like comes out of the screen and gets like closer to you, and it feels like it feels like he's invading your space. Like it's straight up like he straight up like starts to come at you, and I was like this ain't the I honestly like rewatched that scene like 10 times just because I was trying to figure out how they shot it. It's amazing what Martin Scorsese was able to accomplish with this. If this is like in the top 10 3D, like this is a must-own 3D Blu-ray. If you have a 3D monitor, Hugo, you have to get Hugo. Next up, How to Train Your Dragon. I love How to Train Your Dragon. I love all of them. This, I don't have the next two. Like I don't have How to Train Your Dragon 2 or The Hidden World. Hidden World never came out in North America in 3D. I have to import that son of a bitch. 2 I just haven't gotten yet. This one, really great 3D too. In general, animated CGI, like DreamWorks movies, Pixar movies, all those tend to have really good 3D. This one in particular looks breathtaking, especially like the dragon, the flying sequences, and the final battle with like the dragon, the fucking hive mind thing, or whatever that is, that big ass dragon at the end of the movie. Looks amazing. This is another one of those, this isn't top 10, but really, really good. Next up, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2. I actually have not watched this yet. I've seen it, like the movie, but I've never seen the 3D version. I gotta check this out. I've heard it's good. I've heard the first one, and in particular, had really good 3D. I think this one's gonna have really good 3D. I can't imagine it wouldn't. I've seen this movie and I like it, but I've yet to experience this 3D Blu-ray. Next up, oh man, I got this one for free, so whatever. The Green Hornet. I really don't like this movie. The 3D's fine. Like the 3D's good. I'm kind of not this video is not really judging these movies based on like the quality of the movie. It's more or less about the 3D. So if you're looking for just strictly 3D, it's got good 3D. But as a movie on its own, I don't like it that much. Next up, we got the Tim Burton 3D collection. This includes Frankenweenie, Alice in Wonderland, which I do not like. That's a garbage movie and I don't like it. But the reason that this set matters is The Nightmare Before Christmas in 3D. This was released in North America as well, but if you go to get like the North American release, it's like almost $100, man. Like it's ridiculous. Like some of these 3D Blu-rays are like expensive because they're out of print, right? And like that one, I was like, nah, bro. This was like way cheaper. The interesting thing about this though is that because this is a UK import, right? So the 3D Blu-ray, because this is a 2-disc, the 3D disc is region free, but the actual 2D disc is not. So I can literally only watch this in 3D, which is fine because it looks really good in 3D. I haven't watched Frankenweenie yet. I haven't watched that one in 3D yet. I still got to. Alice in Wonderland, I don't give two fucks about at all. I don't like that movie. I never have. So that one will never be watched. This one's a 2-parter kind of. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Part 2 is really good, has really good 3D. Part 1 is a fucking wasted disc. Like this one, nothing happens in it, man. Like Deathly Hallows Part 1 is boring. It's like literally just plot up until like the end when all the cool stuff happens. So this one in 3D is kind of pointless. So yeah, it's just a waste of whatever. Like this one, you could just watch it in 2D. But the 3D Deathly Hallows Part 2 is quite good. It's not great, not groundbreaking, but there are a lot of like really great effects. The scene when the dragon like comes out of the ground and like bites the camera, it, like comes out of your face. Some of the magic spells look really cool with like the especially during the assault on Hogwarts near the end. Spoilers, I guess, if you haven't seen this fucking 11, 12-year-old movie yet. That looks really good. This one, Godzilla vs. Kong 3D. Really decent 3D, not like breathtaking or anything. It does scale pretty well, but this isn't like top 10 or anything. The 3D is good. And one of the reasons why I wanted to get this was one, it's Godzilla. But another one is that Warner Brothers is one of the only studios that's still releasing 3D discs here, and I want to support that. Like Wonder Woman 84, which I don't have because I didn't really like that movie, but Wonder Woman 84, Godzilla vs. Kong, Dune. I need to get Dune. Spoiler alert, I don't have Dune, but I want to get the 3D version of Dune because I've heard that's really good. So I basically just bought this version because I wanted to see it in 3D because I never got to see it in theaters at all. And I want to support studios still doing this, because I want these kind of, I want 3D movies to make a resurgence. So that's mainly why I got this. This one I would consider in the top 10 discs you must own. Finding Nemo, again with that prestige, shiny silver. Oh, bitch. Really good. It's underwater, which is, it's underwater and it's Pixar. So that's just like shabam, you know? This one is like top 10. Top 10. Easily top 10 3D discs. So it's up there with like Hugo. Like of all the Pixar movies that I've got in 3D, Finding Nemo is definitely the best one. Easily. Next up, this is a fucking shitty movie, but I have the 3D disc because I was curious and I figured why not. Metal Storm, The Destruction of Jared Sin. Yeah. The 3D's good. It's very gimmicky. This is like one of those 80s movies where the 3D is like in your face, right? Rather than trying to do immersion, they were like throwing it at you. So there's like some scenes in this where the 3D is like, damn. Like there was like one scene where, but it's like also one of those movies where they kind of just shot shit in 3D for the sake of shooting at it. So they had stuff that would, like there's a scene where they like zoom in on a tree and they like specifically zoom in on like a branch. So the branch comes at your face, but it's like, why did you, like why? It's like they just needed something to come out of the screen at you. There's a scene near the end where they like fly into a fucking portal or some weird shit. I don't remember, but that looked really cool in 3D. But like, yeah, I mean, I'm probably gonna review this movie at some point, which is why I bought this in the first place. Because I figured if I'm gonna review this, I want to see it the way it was originally seen in theaters. So I'll get to that one eventually. Men in Black 3, it's a fine movie. I liked it. I liked it enough. The 3D's okay. The 3D's like average 3D, good, not terrible, not great. It is what it is. There's some certain sequences that are pretty cool. When like Will Smith jumps off the cliff and like falls down just before he like hits that time thing that like switches him back in time. That looked really cool. But yeah, it's Men in Black. Obviously Men in Black 1 is my favorite, always will be. But 3 is definitely better than 2. But I mean, they're all better than International, but it's fine. Fine 3D. This one is top 10. This one I have actually, this one I actually replaced my 2D Blu-ray with because I wanted to see this in 3D and I'm glad I did. Mad Max, fucking Mad Max Fury Road in 3D. This is amazing and it's in the top 10 discs. So this is like one where once you see it in 3D, it's really hard to see it in 2D because they did such a good job on the conversion. In particular, the storm sequence when they drive into that sandstorm. Holy fuck, man. Like that. Oh, mwah, chef's kiss. That was good. Like all the depth, everything, there's like pop out. This is a great 3D experience. Definitely one that's better in 3D than it is in 2D. The Lego Movie in 3D. Also really good 3D, but not for like what you'd expect 3D. One thing that 3D does really good is it does scale really well. So they're able to like show you stuff that's huge and show you stuff that's small, and the depth actually gives you an example of what the size of that is. So when you watch the Lego Movie in 3D, it feels like you're looking into panoramas, which like it feels like you're looking into Lego, like actual Lego. It's very cool and it's very hard to describe without actually seeing it in 3D. But it legitimately looks like you built like a set and then you put the camera in the set and filmed inside the set. It was like a Lego set. This doesn't feel like as big scale as it looks when you watch it in 2D. When you watch it in 3D, it looks much smaller, and that's kind of cool, I think. Like, I think it's really unique to watch it that way. Kubo and the Two Strings in 3D looks really good. Like, really good, not like top 10, but really good movie. And a really good movie in general, really underappreciated. This was, I can't remember what this came out with, but it came out against some other big movie that like just totally annihilated it at the box office, and they didn't really market it well. I think this movie's fucking amazing, but it was just like one of those ones that barely anyone saw. It's kind of like The Iron Giant, where it was just like it bombed. It didn't do very well because just no one saw it. This one is gorgeous. It's a gorgeous movie. It's got gorgeous 3D. It's just a great experience in general. This is another two-parter. Kung Fu Panda and Kung Fu Panda 2. I don't have Kung Fu Panda 3. Both really good. Kung Fu Panda 1 in particular, I would say it's great, but it's not like top 10, but there is in particular the sequence, if you've seen it, there's the sequence when Oogway, spoilers if you haven't seen Kung Fu Panda for some reason, the sequence when Oogway passes away, when he like ascends or whatever, and the cherry blossom petals like fall off the tree and they start like going up into the heavens with him, that looks amazing. Those petals are like right in your face. Like that sequence is amazing in 3D. In the battle with I can't remember his name, Xiao, whatever, the Ian McShane's tiger character near the end of the movie. Really good in 3D as well. All right, this one, Jaws. Now, something that the Blu-ray won't tell you when you just look at it is that Jaws 3, if you buy the Blu-ray, includes the 3D version as a bonus feature. It doesn't tell you on the box that it's actually in there really. It's like in the fine print. But Jaws 3 includes the 3D Blu-ray version as a bonus feature. And I don't like the Jaws sequels that much. Like 3 and 4 are really fucking stupid, but I didn't have them and I figured if I was gonna get Jaws 3, I might as well just buy like the set that came with like all of them. Except for the first one, like this just includes the sequels. Jaws 3 looks amazing in 3D. And like I said, this is not one of those videos where I'm like talking about the quality of a movie, because Jaws 3 is fucking stupid. But the 3D in it, damn. Like it's super gimmicky. Like when you think of a 3D movie, Jaws 3 is exactly what you think about. Like that shit, the title coming out of the screen in your face. It's like, it's the very, and it's nice because Jaws 3, when you watch it in 2D, you're like, why the fuck, why? It's like, why are they focusing on like this tentacle? Or like, why is the shark like look like it's coming out of the, like the 2D cutout of the shark and like all that stuff. You watch it in 2D and it looks awful. But when you watch it in 3D, that shark actually like comes right at your face and it makes sense. You're like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like I understand why it looks like that. So if you're gonna watch Jaws 3 and you have a 3D display, you watch it in 3D. Watch Jaws in 3D. It makes it an infinitely better movie. It doesn't make it a good movie, but it makes it a better experience. And at least you get like the gimmick and the marquee value of watching something that's like in 3D. You get to experience it the way it was meant to be seen. Inside Out, I actually haven't seen this in 3D yet. Again, it's one of those prestigious, shiny, holographic covers. It's Pixar. I imagine this looks good. I have not watched it in 3D. I saw it in theaters in 2D, but I'm still yet to see it in 3D. I gotta check this one out. I'm gonna have to make a pile of like the Blu-rays that I still have yet to watch. This one, okay, this set kind of annoys me. This is Man of Steel. This is the 3D limited edition. I lost the stand somewhere. I don't know where it went, so now it just kind of sits like that. I have to like put it on the shelf. This, Man of Steel looks pretty good in 3D. Like it's not like groundbreaking or anything like that, but it looks pretty solid. It's pretty good 3D. I just don't like this set because it's cumbersome and annoying, and it irritates me, you know. Next up, damn, dude. The Amazing Spider-Man in 3D. This was $40 when it came out. That just goes to show how expensive 3D is when it comes to like some of these discs, because that's ridiculous. I remember when I saw this in theaters, I thought, damn, that's the best Spider-Man movie I've ever seen. That was better than all of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Mans. And then I watched it recently in 3D, and I was like, 3D's fine, but it's not that great of a movie. Like this is definitely like I like Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker, but his movies are definitely the weaker of the Spider-Man movies for sure. 3D's fine, but it's not like a must-own. Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted. Really good 3D. Say what you will about the Madagascar movies. I think they're funny. I think they're fine. They're not. But this one, it's good. Good 3D. Really good 3D. It's DreamWorks. DreamWorks nails it with 3D movies. Kung Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon, Madagascar. Like, they're great. Their 3D is great. So if you're gonna watch this, see it in 3D. Next up, this one's weird. Okay, so The Lion King. The original Lion King, not the fucking CGI, stupid, most pointless remake of all time. This, when I bought this, I expected the 3D was gonna feel like a pop-out book, right? Because it's 2D, so like how do you do that? The only way it makes sense is to do a pop-out book effect, right? But that's not what they did. They took the 2D models and then kind of like altered the depth of the models to make the models almost look like you're looking at them in 3D. So like when Mufasa or Simba or whatever is like looking at the camera, instead of a flat cartoon image of Mufasa or Simba, their nose like sticks out a little bit further, and there's like depth, and it kind of feels like they turned the 3D effect turns the 2D models into a 3D model. It's kind of jarring. I will say that like experiencing this in 3D is a unique way to see it. There's some really great 3D effects in it, but it's not the end all be all. This isn't one of those movies where I'd say that 3D is the must experience way to see this, because it's strange. So if that's something you're interested in, maybe pick up the 3D just to check that out. This one though is top 10. Life of Pi. This was made for 3D. Watching this in 2D almost feels like a disservice to the movie. This is one that is amazing in 3D, Avatar level. Straight up top 10 3D experiences. This is one of those ones that you gotta see in 3D. Everything looks great. Everything looks great in it. There's pop out, there's depth. It's great. This is one made for 3D. Jurassic World 3D. I have the limited edition, the one that came with like the figurines, so it came with like this metal pack. I will say this is a pain in the ass to put on the shelf because there's no like, it's not like an actual disc. It like sits like that, so it looks weird as fuck on my Blu-ray shelf. Really good 3D. This is probably the only Jurassic World movie that I actually like. Fallen Kingdom was okay. Dominion is just the fucking worst. But this one, good 3D. In particular, the sequence with the Indominus battling the T-Rex at the end looks really good in 3D because it looks like they're actually like it looks like you're looking at like a full-scale T-Rex. Ow, that hit me right in the ankle bone. And on the topic of Jurassic World, Jurassic Park in 3D. This is a post-conversion, obviously. Jurassic Park was not filmed in 3D. But, gotta say, they did a really good job with this one. For a movie that came out in 1993 that was not originally supposed to be in 3D, this looks really good in 3D. Especially, like, there's like a lot of shots, like where the Gallimimuses like run at the camera in the Gallimimus stampede. That looks really good. The T-Rex breaking out of the fucking paddock looks really good. There's like a lot of, yeah, you'd expect it would look like shit, but like this looks really good in 3D. It's not the end all be all. Jurassic Park is an amazing movie, regardless of how you watch it. I think 3D is just a unique way to see it. It makes you feel like you're more immersed in the movie. So 2D, 3D, whatever, you're getting a great experience either way. But I would recommend at least seeing it once in 3D to like gauge if that's like what you're into, right? Iron Man 3. Say what you will about Iron Man 3. It's fine. I mean, considering what's been coming out of the MCU lately, I think Iron Man 3 is far better. 3D is good. It's Marvel. The scenes in particular that really stick out to me, the final battle with all the Iron Man suits looks really cool, and the scene where they jump out of the plane and they're like free falling out of the plane and Iron Man's catching them all as they're falling. That looks really good. I wouldn't recommend. I wouldn't say that this is like one that you have to see in 3D, but really good 3D regardless. Transformers: Dark of the Moon. Transformers was like I actually like this movie. I don't like it as much as the first Transformers, but it's fucking way better than some of the other ones that came out of this franchise. It was kind of weird. Like, Transformers 1 was good, 2 was garbage, 3 was good, 4 was garbage. And then I never saw Last Night, so I don't know if Last Night was good. Probably not. But this one, amazing 3D. This is the one. This is one where you got to see it in 3D. Like, this is one that was made for 3D, you can tell. It's like Avatar levels of 3D. This is the way to see it. This makes the movie infinitely better. I don't know how much this set is. I remember when I bought it, it was expensive, so it's probably not cheap anymore. Again, this is like one of those ones that has like the really cool lenticular cover. But yeah, Dark of the Moon. Check it out in 3D if you can. The original Toy Story in 3D. This one's fine. There's no like, when I was watching this, I didn't think, damn, that looks amazing. It looks fine in 3D. It's an interesting way to see it. Not a make-all, be-all experience. It still looks fine in 2D. The 3D just kind of adds depth. That's about it. It makes the toys feel like they're more toy-sized, but you don't get like any pop-out or like any of that, any like your typical 3D fare. But good experience. I haven't seen Toy Story 2, 3, or 4 in 3D, and I don't have them in 3D. I know they're in 3D, but I don't have them yet. It's a work in progress. I'm still collecting, adding to this collection. Titanic. This looks amazing in 3D. In particular, the sinking, like the entire sinking sequence. Shit, man. Like this, you feel like you're there. Like, this is like a really good post-conversion. Especially like the shots that are like supposed to show you like the size of the Titanic itself, like especially when it's like breaking, like that shot when the ship is like, when the bow or whatever, when the propellers are like lifting up and like all the people are in the water and then you see the propeller come down. That in 3D, it actually makes the propeller look massive. Like you actually get like a sense of scale that you don't get watching this in 2D. So I would recommend seeing this in 3D at least once because it's really, really good. Ugh. Thor: The Dark World. Oh hell yeah, brother. I don't like this movie's not great. It's whatever. It's pretty mediocre. 3D in it though. It's a Marvel movie. It's really good. In particular, the ending sequence when he's like in the ether storm or whatever the hell it is, like that red storm cloud thing, looks amazing. Like amazing. That's some of the best 3D I've ever seen. But that's just like that one sequence. So you have to gauge if you're willing to try to track down Thor: Dark World in 3D for like one sequence that looks really cool in 3D. I got it for free, so I don't really need to worry about that. Yeah. Again, this is not a gauge of their quality as movies, because Terminator Genisys is not a good movie. The 3D in it though is really good, and it's one of those movies where the 3D makes it better. It doesn't save it from being a good Terminator movie, because it's not a fucking good Terminator movie. But the 3D is good enough that it kind of like, let's say if this movie is like a 5 out of 10, I would say that the 3D makes it a 6 out of 10. This one, Star Trek Into Darkness, again, lenticular cover, very bougie. Really good 3D, especially anything to do with space. Space also tends to be up there with like underwater, where it like just looks good. Really good. I like the movie. It's not like the best thing in the world, but I like the movie a lot, and the 3D really adds to it. You get like the sense of scale that looks really, especially when like the Enterprise is like crashing into the ground. Great scale there. Sequences where it's like flying, you get like the like hyperspeed, warp speed, whatever, you get like the stars coming at your face. It looks really cool. Definitely one worth experiencing in 3D, but it's not like a make or break kind of movie. Spider-Man: Homecoming in 3D looks really good. It's Marvel. There is not a bad Marvel movie as far as like 3D is concerned. There are bad Marvel movies, but not as far as 3D is concerned. Homecoming looks really good in 3D. This was also the last Spider-Man movie that got released in 3D in North America. I think the last Marvel movie in general that got released in 3D in North America was Doctor Strange, and then after that they started releasing them only in Europe, and now they're fucking only releasing them in Japan. Which really sucks, because there are some that I want to get. Like Shang-Chi, I really want to get that in 3D, but the only way to get Shang-Chi in 3D is to import the fucking Japanese version, which is like $100. So thanks for that, Disney. Alright, this one is in the top 10. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This is the Australian import, because it's the only way to get it in 3D that's region free. This one is made for 3D, and it's one of those ones this is one that once you've seen it in 3D the way it was meant to be seen, that's it. You can't watch it in 2D. The 3D makes this movie. It makes it so much better. Everything pops. You get like everything. Like there's like so much pop. This is a perfect 3D movie, and it's the way this movie was meant to be seen. So if you can track down this Australian version of it, if you're North American, right? Or if you just, there's other language versions that are in 3D, but this is the only way to watch it in English. This is amazing, and this is the way it was meant to be seen. This movie fucking sucks, but the 3D's fine. This is another one of those like combo 3Ds where like the 3D and the normal Blu-ray are on the same disc. This movie's garbage. But the 3D's fine. It's like the gimmicky 3D. Like, it was a horror movie, right? So like they spent a lot of time just throwing stuff at you. The 3D's good. It makes it a better movie, but it doesn't save it from still being Piranha 3D or 3DD. The original Piranha 3D I've heard is pretty good, but that's a hard one to track down. It's like $50, so I don't have that one yet. It's another one to add to the list. All right, this one, Pacific Rim in 3D. It needs to be seen in 3D. You can tell when you watch this that Guillermo del Toro really put an emphasis on the 3D, and like apparently he supervised it. I read interviews where like he said he supervised the 3D. The sense of scale that you get in this is unlike anything I've ever seen before. Like this, when you see this in 3D, the Jaegers and the Kaiju look like Jaegers. It looks like, it almost feels like you're actually on the ground seeing these things in real life, and you're actually getting a sense of scale that you would actually get from looking up at a Jaeger and at a kaiju. This is meant to be seen in 3D, and this is in the top 10 3D movies. This is breathtaking in 3D. It makes it a 10 out of 10 movie up to like an 11 out of 10 movie. So if you can see this in 3D, if you can track down Pacific Rim, do it. This is one that you gotta see in 3D. By extension, Pacific Rim Uprising. Not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination, but the 3D saves it and makes it a better movie. It doesn't save it from, it doesn't turn it into a great movie. And the 3D is not on par with the first Pacific Rim. But the 3D definitely makes this a better experience, especially the final battle with like the mega kaiju or whatever the hell they called it. That looks really good in 3D. And because this is shot during the, because this is daytime, the 3D kit tends to pop. Because like one downgrade to 3D is that the glasses automatically make a movie darker. So the brighter the movie is, the better it looks. It's because this takes place during the day, it pops. It tends to pop. But the dark doesn't really bother Pacific Rim. The original Pacific Rim still looks really great, even though it's like shot in darkness and stuff. Monsters Inc., another one of the prestigious shiny covers with the lenticular cover. It looks really good in 3D. It's Pixar. It's one of Pixar's. I love Monsters Inc. I think it's one of their best movies. In 3D, it looks really good. There's pop out. There's good depth. It's not a must. It's not like a must own, but you owe it to yourself to at least see Monsters Inc. one time in 3D. They did a really good job with like the conversion on this one. This one I still haven't seen yet. I'm probably gonna watch this today, to be honest with you. I saw this in theaters in 2D, and then a lot of these movies I bought when 3D was in its heyday because I was planning to get a 3D TV, and then I never got a 3D TV. So a lot of these 3D Blu-rays just kind of sat on my shelf. But I'm glad I bought them because now I've got a 3D projector, and now I can actually experience these in 3D, and they're impossible to find now. So I'm glad that I bought them when I did. I imagine this probably looks really good because it's Pixar, right? Or not Pixar, but it's Disney Animation. I imagine this is going to look really good. I'll probably check it out today, to be honest with you. World War Z in 3D. It's fine. The 3D is fine. Some of the sequences look really cool. Say what you will about the movie, I don't think it's that great of a movie. I feel like World War Z would have been better made as like a mini-series on HBO or something. It's fine. The movie's fine, the 3D's fine. It doesn't scream. It's not like you gotta see this in 3D. No, it's just, it's 3D, it's there. This is another import from the UK, Wonder Woman in 3D. Looks really good in 3D. Again, not a must-own, but pretty good in 3D. I really liked the first Wonder Woman a lot, but way better than 84, that's for sure. But in 3D, it looks pretty good. The scene where she's running across like no man's land, and like she's like blocking bullets with her shield, and all the shit where she's like jumping, you know, it looks cool. It looks cool. The final sequence on like the airport runway with like what is his name? Hades? Not Hades. The god of war, Ares. That battle with Ares on the runway looks really cool. It's a good one to experience in 3D, but it's not like a make or break. This one, however, is a this is probably the most like one of the most prestigious feeling 3D discs I have. This is Star Wars Force Awakens. This one feels like, I miss when they did this, man. When like 3D discs, like it felt like the version to get. Like this looks just fucking that looks so damn cool. Like I don't know if it's gonna show. Look at that. Oh, it's like in a like a hard cardboard case, and it's got like the 3D. It kind of like slides out. Oh, bitch! This is a 10 out of 10 3D movie. This one was made for 3D. You can tell. All the space battles look amazing. This in general is a great 3D movie. It's a good movie in general. Say what you will about the sequels, but like this is a great Star Wars movie as far as I'm concerned. And this kind of reawakened my love for Star Wars, because honestly, I said stopped giving a shit about these movies a long time ago. And then when this came out, I was like, let's go see it in theaters. It's a new Star Wars movie. Saw it in theaters, fucking loved it. In 3D, looks amazing. Definitely like a must-own 3D disc, if you can. This is another one that is a must-own 3D disc. Alita, the Battle Angel. Alita Battle Angel. I wish companies did this more often. This is like the 4K version, obviously, right? But they included the 3D version in it. If you're gonna, I kind of wish companies would still do this. Like North America, I feel like this would be a good way to get away without having to produce as much plastic Instead of releasing separate 3D releases, just include the 3D version in like the 4K set, like they did with this one. It's fine. Then you get like the 4K and the 3D. You don't have to print another box. You just have to stamp another disc. This one looks amazing in 3D. Obviously, James Cameron produced this, so the 3D is going to look great. Anything James Cameron has his name on, as far as like 3D goes, as far as I know, because I haven't seen Terminator 2 in 3D, like that post-conversion yet, but Titanic looks great in 3D, Avatar is still the gold standard in 3D, this looks really good in 3D. And Elite is a good movie. I like Elite a lot. I think it was really underrated and really underappreciated. People argue a lot that there's no such thing as like good manga adaptations. Yeah, there is. It's Alita. This one's unique. 3D rarities. This is basically like early footage of 3D that's been restored. So like stuff that was recorded in like the 1900s, 1910s, 1920s, 40s, 50s, old commercials, old movie trailers, like It Came From Outer Space. There's a trailer for that in here. There's like 3D nuclear bomb test footage in this. It's really cool. Like, I would say this is, if you have a 3D display, I think if you're like a history buff like me, this is like a must own. It's so cool seeing these pieces of 3D history restored and seeing them like on like an HD screen. Like, it's not like the red and blue 3D or whatever, because that's how you would have seen it back then. You would have seen it in like the red and blue 3D, but they've restored it to be on a normal 3D disc. This is really cool. There's also a second one. I've heard that Rarities 2 isn't as good, quite as good as the first Rarities, but this one I think is like a must own just for like the historical value of it. And last, but certainly not least, one of the best 3D experiences you could possibly have, and one that is a must-see in 3D, Gravity. This is amazing in 3D. It is Avatar level. Yeah, I mean, if you've seen Gravity, I think you can pretty much understand why the 3D in this is so damn good. The sequence at the beginning when the shuttle is hit by the debris, this is the only movie in recent history that I can remember, other than the first 3D movie I ever saw in like an IMAX theater, was like a documentary on like Galapagos Islands or something. But like, this is like the first time in recent history where I can remember watching a movie and going, when the ship gets hit with the debris and Sandra Bullock is like on the Canadarm and it like spins around and her like fucking shit goes past the camera and there's like debris and shit flying past you, like it comes out of the screen at you and it looks amazing. Earth, like the space scenes look amazing. The fucking everything. The scene when like she goes into like the space, like the ISS or whatever, and there's like the stuff just floating, like the anti-gravity stuff that's just floating around, like the spoons, just random debris. It comes out of the screen. This is that sequence when she detaches from the Canadarm and she's like spinning in circles and the camera goes inside her helmet and like switches to like her POV and you can like see Earth as you're spinning. Oh man, I didn't mean to burp, but you know, oh man, I'm just excited, bro. That was like that. Oh, that was good. It almost made me nauseous. You actually feel what she feels in that moment. It's great. And that's it for my 3D collection. That's all of them. There's a lot more than I want to get, but I don't have them all. Collecting 3D it's a bit expensive, a little bit of an expensive hobby. Tracking some of these discs down is a pain in the ass, but I think it's worth it. I really like 3D. I think if done properly, not like, you know, iRobot, but more like Gravity, it can immerse you in a movie. It can make you feel like you're there. It can breathe new life into movies that maybe it's like a new way to see a movie. Not everybody agrees. I know that a lot of people don't agree with 3D. I know a lot of people get nauseous from it. I get that, but I'm a fan of it. I'm a fan of the genre, and I really hope it comes back. I really hope that The Way of Water, Avatar 2, rekindles it, you know? Like, I really hope that it brings it back and like kind of revives the whole 3D craze, and we start getting discs again, and we start getting home Blu-ray releases again, because I would love to own. There's a lot of great movies that you like. Jaws, man, fucking Jaws. The first Jaws just got a post conversion in 3D, and it was only shown in theaters, and there was no theater anywhere near me that showed it. Jaws is my favorite movie of all time. You know, fucking damn well I would have gone to see that in 3D. And apparently the 3D is really good, from what people have been saying. I would love to experience the original Jaws in 3D, but you can't, because it was only put in theaters. I just pray to God that Universal decides to put out a disc, and Universal discs are region free. So if they do release a disc somewhere, I can buy it. But they got to do it first. There's got to be demand for it. So I'm just hoping that like Avatar brings this back. You know, I'm hoping it's just like the push that this genre needs for all these 3D movies to start coming out on Blu-ray again. Because I want my big collection again, bro. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this wasn't too long-winded. Like I said, I know a lot of this is niche and not many people are going to enjoy this because a lot of you just don't have 3D discs. I think I'm going to end this with showing off the projector that I actually have. And yeah, we'll just go from there. All right. So this is my projector. This is the Home Cinema 2040. Yeah, it's sitting on a cardboard box. Sue me. But this is really good. It's really dusty. I gotta clean it. Whatever, man. It's fine. It's fine. Don't judge me, all right? This is my setup. My projector sits on a cardboard box, and it's fine. It does what it needs to do. But this has 3D built right into it. You don't need like a special screen. You don't need anything like that. You literally just turn it on, put a 3D Blu-ray disc in. This thing will automatically convert it. We'll switch to 3D. You throw your glasses on, you're good to go. This thing cost roughly, I think about $350, and everything you need is like built into it. It's not 4K or anything. It's like 1080p, but really great quality, and the 3D looks great. So I would recommend this one if you're gonna get into 3D and you just want a starting projector. This one's worth checking out.